Hi there. JR Jonathan here with Sunflower Bank, Regional Production Manager here in California. Today I'm going to be answering the question, is buying a home a good investment? I think for most people, when you think about buying a home, you're just thinking about a place to live where you don't have to deal with a landlord. But what makes a home a good investment? Read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and he actually answered that question in there. And interesting enough, he said buying a home that you live in is not a great investment. But I think understanding why he thinks that way and what makes it a good investment is really, really important. First and foremost, what did he say? Well, a good investment, he believes, is traditionally one that puts cash in your pocket. Well, as you might know, when you buy a home, you still have to take cash out of your pocket, not only for the down payment, but for the monthly payment, and as well for the ability to be able to fix up the house from time to time and repair costs and stuff like that. So from his vantage point, buying a home is not necessarily a great investment because the way he sees investments is by cash coming into your pocket. But then the question is asked, well, JR, here in the US, buying a home and owning your home seems to be like one of the number one ways to drive wealth. And very much so. So I'm gonna speak to that momentarily because I think that's really important, especially if you're someone who's been thinking about buying a home and exiting the rental market and finally owning something. You should know what you're really getting in regards to whether it's a good investment or not. But before I do that, I also want to state today we're going to talk about how a house is really a home. And looking at it as just an investment isn't necessarily the wisest thing to do. So we're going to talk about that as well. So speaking about it being an investment, how is it beneficial to me? Now, for me personally, the way I look at it is in the US, housing has traditionally gone up year after year. Even living through the 2008 debacle and the housing crisis, looking back at it now, homes came down to record lows. But then they just trickled back up and now have surpassed those record lows. And to some extent, if you did the math, they actually still have a pretty good return of equity over time. But time is the number one factor. If we have time, time will cure even a bad few years, even in housing. So I think that's important to know. One of the main ways that makes housing an investment and wealth driver is consistent appreciation. And even if we went at the standard rate of GDP, which is gross domestic product, which is pretty much the inflation rate, it would traditionally 3 to 5%, as long as it's coming up 3 to 5% per year on the total value of the home, that's a considerable wealth gain over time. But in addition to that, most folks, when they purchase a home, they don't pay cash. You take out a mortgage, and it's usually amortized over 30 years. And that payment, as you make payments, traditionally starts paying down the debt. We call that debt service. So as you service the debt and you pay down the debt, you're increasing the equity. So the debt comes down, valuation comes up, and then that's where that wealth gap starts opening up and you start driving towards your net worth. And so that's traditionally how most people make an investment out of a home, is through that. But there are a few other caveats to it. One is taxes. When you're owning a home, your interest paid on that home up to about $750,000, I believe, is the number today. And I would fact check that with your CPA or tax expert. But essentially, the way I look at it is that interest paid is actually a deduction towards your income to help with tax savings. Property taxes as well is a deduction. So those two caveats do help. Now, when you pay rent, not necessarily a deduction, you do get standard itemization, which helps you out tremendously and has come up over the years. So that's really positive. But these are typically the wealth drivers to owning a house. Now, I want to speak about owning a home a little bit differently. And I, for a matter of semantics, I'm separating the words of house and home, house being more representative of an investment, whereas a home is more representative of where I live. And I think that's the most important thing. When you're renting, there's always that possibility the landlord wants to sell the house or maybe wants to remodel it or something to that effect. And unfortunately, you're going to be pushed out of that home. And that makes it very difficult because you don't have autonomy of that home. When you own your house, you have autonomy. You can change the flower bed. You can change the wall colors. You can change your flooring. You can reorganize things. So owning your home allows you certain luxuries that you wouldn't have if you're renting. And I think that's a home. To me, what a home is, personally, is where I get to be able to grow memories with my family, where we get to enjoy time together. And so those are the things that really matter. And really important to your home is where your home is at. Maybe certain things like, do you want to live on a cul-de-sac, or do you want certain features of that home to be present? Like you want a big enough yard for the kids to play in. This is a home, and not so much looked at as an investment, and kind of balancing the two is really important. The community you live in, is it close to the amenities that you want to be at? Do you like being in the mountains? Do you like being near the beach? Do you like being near a river? All these amenities really matter in determining a home. And then in addition to that, you also have the added caveat of schools, family, and all the like that you want to live near. That makes life more rich. And I think that's really important, is to understand that the balance of where I live, yeah, it's an investment, but it's not the most important thing, because there's also the other added items of it being a home where I grow memories and live my life and have all the fun things that we normally do, and make it something a little bit more than just an investment. Now, the beauty of it is you can have both. And I think that's really the big takeaway. When we moved into our recent home, and I can't believe it's about to hit 10 years being in that home, initially it was, where do we want to live? Well, we want to be closer to where our church is at. We want to be closer to family. We want to make sure that it's in a nice community. We want to make sure that it's on a cul-de-sac. And there was all these little things and features that we really wanted that home to be. And gratefully, we were able to find it. And it's been more of a home. Now, has it been a good investment? Shockingly, a great investment. I honestly was not anticipating it being a great investment, but I really honestly didn't even care. I didn't care if it went down in value. I didn't care if anything happened to it. Honestly, my biggest concern was, does it allow us to facilitate our lives? And it allows us autonomy and a place to be. And honestly, to me, I could afford it as well, and that was really important. And that's a whole nother topic, is affordability. There's a lot of pieces to owning a home, and understanding how much you can afford and whether it fits that home bucket, and also maybe take a look at that investment side of it and project out what you think is good. Now, that's what my job is to do as a loan originator, is to help you with some of those questions. A great realtor will help you out with some of those questions as well, in regards to placement and location and price point. And so having a good team on your side is really, really important. So if you're looking for a good team, reach out to me. There'll be a link in the message below, and we'd love to chat with you more about it. Thank you for your time today.